Red light therapy is my favourite anti-aging technology because it can do so much for the skin. And in part 1 of this video, we thought we'd given you the answers to everything you didn't know about red light therapy, but that video sparked some more in-depth questions from you, questions that we are going to answer in this video today. Questions about eye health, safety of use for anybody with melasma, freckles, deeper skin tones, pigmentation, whether red light actually encourages facial fat loss. All of those questions and more are going to be answered in this video today. And who better to answer those questions for you but Bev May-Sanderson from Maysama. Bev is an expert on everything green rooibos and LED therapy. There is nothing she doesn't know. So let's get her in here. So welcome back to Bev. And I think I speak for everybody that we are all extremely grateful to have your expertise. So welcome back and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me back, Gemma. It's exciting to be here.
And should we jump straight in?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, question 1. Is it a must to have a clean face before using red light, or can you use the mask when wearing makeup and or SPF?
Interesting. Always start with a clean, hydrated face. I would certainly not recommend doing LED therapy with your makeup on or SPF on, because you will hinder light penetration. And it's not just your face that's got to be clean, the mask has got to be clean as well. You don't want to leave any residue on your LED mask because that will hinder your light penetration for further treatments.
Question 2, is LED safe to use if you have rosacea? This has been a question that has been asked so many times.
Really? Wow. Well, as somebody with rosacea, yes, absolutely. It's extremely beneficial, and we've heard from many members of our community who will support that they've had excellent results using LED therapy for rosacea. So if we look at the action of LED therapy, it's anti-inflammatory. What is rosacea? It's an inflammatory condition, so it's going to help reduce that inflammation and it's going to help calm skin irritation. The other thing that individuals who suffer with rosacea, we tend to have a compromised skin barrier, and LED therapy can help repair that skin barrier and reduce transepidermal water loss, basically water loss from the skin. So that will also help calm and reduce the symptoms of rosacea. So it's a win-win. I mean, I think there's maybe just a teeny bit of caution that when you start out with red light therapy, if you do have super sensitive skin, if you have rosacea, just start low and slow and just monitor how your skin progresses. But I'm sure that you will reap the benefits of the results.
Question 3, is there a risk of fat loss with LED treatments? We do see this with other devices that people are really afraid of using now. Is there a risk with LED treatments as well?
It's a really, really good question. So if we're concerned with fat loss, I presume we're talking about areas where we don't want to lose fat. And the answer is no, there is no risk, effectively. So firstly, compared to other modalities, red light therapy or LED therapy is described as non-thermal energy. It's not direct heat. And I think we need to remember that, because some of the other modalities that you're probably aware of, which can potentially lead to fat loss, are thermal.
Yeah.
And they can get to temperatures like 42 degrees. Red light therapy, it may raise the skin temperature by about 1 degree, but that's it. So it's not going to trigger fat loss in the face. There is evidence of LED therapy being used for fat loss in areas where we want to lose fat, but that's a different situation. That relates to, all those studies relate to obese and diabetic individuals where the fat cells are unhealthy. So we're looking at, imagine a balloon compared to a space hopper. And in that situation, it can help reduce excess lipids in the cell. But once the health of the cell has been restored, it doesn't drive further fat loss.
Okay, question 4. And this is something that I am desperate to hear the answer to, because at the moment, I'm using a red light therapy helmet to stimulate hair growth on my head. So this question is, does red light encourage facial hair? I heard it was good for head hair growth, but I'm worried about it causing excess facial hair. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, well, the question does, but the answer is don't worry. It really will not. It will not. I've been using an LED hair growth comb for the last year as well, and I have, a whole new curtain of hair on my head. And I've also been using LED therapy for skin rejuvenation. Do I see any increase in Velux hair? None whatsoever. The difference being that Velux hair really is driven by hormones. It's not driven by biostimulation. So it's a different mechanism. So you don't need to be concerned.
You do not worry. We are all not going to leave with a beard after 2 years of LED therapy, so we're good. Yeah. Question 5, can red light improve the look of spider veins?
No, it can't. The reason being that, spider veins really are vascular. So we're talking about dilated blood vessels, just small blood vessels in the face or in the legs. So they're vascular by nature. And red light therapy, whilst it penetrates the skin, it doesn't go as deep as the blood vessels. So, the action of red light therapy is to help cells reproduce, it's skin rejuvenation, but it's not going to impact on blood vessels.
So it can't make them better, but can it make them worse?
No, it won't make them worse. Really, red light therapy can increase microcirculation, but it's not going to enlarge blood vessels or increase the number of blood vessels.
Question 6. Now, this lady approached me and said that this was a silly question, but she didn't know the answer. I don't think there is a silly question, and actually I think this is quite a smart question, and I don't know the answer. So, does the effectiveness change if I use red light in a dark or a light environment?
Definitely not a silly question. Yeah, it does not, because it's all about the dosing. So, when you're sat in front of your LED panel or you have your LED mask on, then you are delivering a dose of light energy, and it's the red and the near infrared light that we're interested in. So it really doesn't matter if you're in a well-lit room. In fact, it's one thing I actually encourage people to do when they're using our panel and they're using pulse light because of that strobing effect. I always say sit in a well-lit room because you get less of a differential. It's not going to change the dosing at all.
Question 7. The Maysama mask doesn't contain the option for green or yellow light. What are your thoughts on these?
I mean, there is data around yellow and green light that's emerging, which is interesting. But, my thoughts are that you're not going to get anything from yellow or green light that you don't already get from red light, and potentially red light already does it better. Now, if you look at yellow and green, it has some brightening effect, but it's not as going as deep into the skin layer, the epidermis, as the red is. So I personally would use red in preference to yellow or green for brightening. And those are the kind of things that they're saying that they're using yellow and green for brightening. But I would use red in preference.
Question 8. Can you use red light therapy when you're pregnant?
It's a difficult one to answer because I think, when something hasn't been tested under those conditions, you can't actually strictly say whether it's safe or not. So if you look at all manuals for LED beauty devices, they will all say, don't use this if you're pregnant. And it's not because it's harmful, it's just because it hasn't been tested under those conditions.
Okay, so question 9 and 10 we're going to group together because they're going to have very similar answers. So this was the most asked question in the comment section of the previous video. Right. So this will be, everybody will be on the edge of their seat waiting for this answer.
Okay.
Can LED therapy make pigmentation worse? What if I have melasma? Is it safe? And I have freckles and don't want them enhanced. Is red light bad or good?
It's a great question. It's a great question. And I know we spoke about it briefly, obviously, on our last video, but there's so much more to add. I've just written a blog, actually, which is on my website. So if you want to delve deeper than the answers that we give you today, my blog is available. I think what's really come out of recent literature searches is that we really want to look at different protocols for fair and dark skin, and that hasn't been discussed before. If you have fair skin, work from the outside in and use red light only. If you have darker skin, so we're talking Fitzpatrick 1 to 3 for fair skin and Fitzpatrick 4 to 6 for darker skin tones. Darker skin tones, you want to bypass the surface layer of the skin, which is really melanin rich, and get down to those deeper layers, treat it from the inside out. So you would use near infrared light because it penetrates more deeply, it's anti-inflammatory, and it'll treat the pigmentation from within. Use pulse light whether you have fair skin or darker skin for better results.
I have very fair skin.
You do?
I'm using at the moment red light plus near infrared light. Is that the
Yes.
wrong thing to do? Should I only be using red light or can I use both?
It's not necessarily wrong, but if it was triggering melasma for you, then you would switch to red only and leave the near infrared, which potentially could be heating the lower layers of the skin and is not bringing you any benefit. Just work with red only.
Okay, so the same for people with darker skin tones, Fitzpatrick 4 and above.
Yes.
If they're using red light plus near infrared light at the moment, should they switch to just using near infrared light?
100% if you have melanin rich skin, ditch the red because it can be overstimulating the melanocytes in the epidermis because you will have so much melanin in the top layer of your skin that it's not getting down into the deeper layers anyway. Secondly, it can be triggering those melanocytes to produce more melanin. So you really do not want to use red light at all if you have a darker skin tone.
So in a nutshell, darker skin tones, near infrared only. Lighter skin tones, you can use near infrared plus red, but if you feel like it's making your pigmentation worse or you have melasma to begin with that you're wanting to correct, just use red light.
Absolutely correct. And I think we should just add to that, when we talk about freckles, pigmentation and melasma, it's the same protocol regardless. It's just about the skin tone as to how you need to adapt that protocol.
So one other thing that I desperately want to mention, because I know it will be of interest to everybody. We've mentioned that for people with darker skin should ditch red light and go to near infrared only. There isn't a mask on the market that will do just near infrared only, but your
true.
panel does have that function. So can you
Yes.
just explain a little bit more about your panel?
Sure. Okay, so it's called the Pulse 40 panel, and it has the option for red, near infrared together, or red or near infrared on its own. So you can completely tailor your protocol. It has pulse light, as the name suggests, and it uses pulse light at lower frequencies, which actually is really good for people with dark skin, because if you have the light on and off, when it's off, it allows the skin to cool a little bit more between those pulses. So definitely the science suggests that you should be using a lower pulse frequency if you're treating melasma with dark skin tones, and that's exactly what our panel does.
Question 11 was, is red light therapy safe to use if you have a darker skin tone? We've definitely just covered that in the
Yes.
previous
Yeah.
answers. So question 12, can I do an LED treatment straight after a sauna? It was amazing how many of these questions we got because I didn't realise that saunas were so popular until I asked people to pose their questions for you to
Right.
answer.
Okay. I mean, there's no contraindication of doing red light therapy after a sauna. Potentially there's benefits because if you have a sauna, it's going to increase circulation. It's anti-inflammatory, so you're doubling up on the anti-inflammatory aspect of it, which could be really good for people with muscle soreness or arthritis. But because you're increasing circulation as well, you're getting more oxygen to the cells. Well, that can only really be beneficial for the skin rejuvenation effects of red light therapy. So I do feel that potentially, they're quite synergistic. They work well together.
So there's definitely no danger to doing red light therapy straight after you've had a sauna. It can be very beneficial. Very few negative side effects unless you have very sensitive skin. And if you had sensitive skin, you probably wouldn't be in a sauna to begin with.
Exactly.
Question 13, really good question. I've heard that red and near infrared treatments can improve the health of my eyes.
Yeah.
Is this the same for blue light?
Absolutely not. No. The reason being, blue light is antibacterial. It doesn't have any impact on mitochondrial health, the little organelles in the cell that produce energy. So red and near infrared light can be beneficial for eye health, and I'm sure, you know, many of your viewers are familiar with that, but it is dose dependent. Don't think that all red and near-infrared light is going to be beneficial to health. It needs to be low intensity and in short doses. But blue light just doesn't add any benefit because it doesn't target the mitochondria. And the retina is very rich in these mitochondria because it's very energy demanding. So blue light has no impact on that, you know, for beneficial reasons.
So can blue light actually damage eye health?
I think you should certainly use it with caution. Yes, absolutely.
Question 14, is LED safe for anyone who suffers or has suffered with skin cancers or breast cancer in the past?
Okay. Well, red light, you know, it's different to UV light. It's non-ionizing, so it doesn't trigger DNA mutations or DNA damage. You know, that's the encouraging side. And there has been a recent review of all the published literature, and they've concluded that there is no link between LED therapy and initiating cancer. Also good news. But I think, you know, with people that have a history of cancer, I think, again, there's a little bit of caution required because we know that LED therapy activates cells. And so potentially it could stimulate cell proliferation. Could that affect cancer cells? We don't know. But you would never do anything without the advice of a medical professional. You know, you would have to be under their guidance. There is very positive information around breast cancer patients, particularly with treating lymphedema, and they've found that LED therapy can be very helpful in reducing the swelling. So that's good news too.
Another great question. Question 15, is LED a good treatment for anyone with eczema?
Yes, absolutely, it would be. I mean, when we say treatment, it would be an adjunctive treatment. You know, it's not a cure for eczema, but it certainly sits well with other treatments that you would have for eczema. You know, there's parallels really with rosacea because, again, eczema is an inflammatory condition. So, you know, the anti-inflammatory action of red light can help reduce the symptoms of eczema. So, you know, the irritation that you get, the itching will die down, the inflammation will reduce. And also we talked about that sort of water loss that you get from the skin before, and the red light therapy can help repair the skin barrier to a certain extent. So all of those are really good for eczema. So, you know, obviously we can't give medical advice, so I would always say consult with your dermatologist and see how you can integrate red light therapy with the current treatments that you have, but I believe it will bring you a benefit.
Question 16, and this is something we touched on in the previous video. Can you use red light therapy immediately after microneedling? I know it's a question that you get asked quite a lot.
I do. And I don't want to contradict what I said last time because I'm not entirely sure what we said last time. I should have reviewed our video, but my train of thought has changed in the last 12 months on this. You know, if we look at microneedling, it creates those micro injuries in the skin, and then that triggers a wound healing response. And that wound healing response is really important actually for, you know, for triggering those fibroblasts to then produce collagen. So red light therapy, when I've looked at other YouTube channels, they've generally said, yes, use red light therapy after microneedling. I would suggest that you wouldn't use it in the first 24 to 48 hours. The reason being that you don't want to dampen down that wound response. You want to have the maximum wound response, and then you want the benefits of red light therapy, but you just want to give it time. So 24 to 48 hours, and then introduce red light therapy and harness the best of both treatments.
That is really, really interesting because I would have always said, oh, most definitely it'll really help to reduce the inflation, which it would.
It will.
But it will also decrease the benefits.
Potentially too soon.
Yeah, definitely. So all those benefits, why you went for the microneedling in the first place,
exactly.
It could reduce those slightly if you introduce red light too soon.
Yes, yeah. We know that red light therapy is great for wound healing because it speeds up that inflammatory response. But I think in this situation, we don't want to speed that up too quickly. We want to give it time to have its effect, its full effect.
Question 17. I've been using a red light mask for 2 years. She uses the Omnilux mask every other morning. I'm 54, but I'm not sure if I'm still seeing any results. Would adding the Rooibos serum help boost the effectiveness? Now, if you don't know what the Rooibos serum is, that is Maysama's serum, the company that Bev founded. It is absolutely fantastic for boosting the effects of red light therapy and really intensifying those effects. You also see those effects a lot quicker than you would do if you weren't using the serum, in my experience anyway. So, to answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely you would. And what's really encouraging for us is we've heard from a lot of our own community who have sent us before and after pictures saying, I'd plateaued with my red light therapy, I wasn't seeing any, better results. And then I introduced the serum and all of a sudden, boom, we're seeing, look at the transformation that I'm seeing. So absolutely, you will see a difference if you introduce the serum. It does amplify and accelerate, as Gemma said, the effects of LED therapy. And I think, some of the actions, the way that it works overlap with red light therapy, because we know that red light therapy gives us more cellular energy. So does Rooibos. It actually speeds up that mitochondrial respiration, so we get more ATP, more cellular energy. But it also has other actions. It drives alternative energy pathways that gives us the building blocks that we need for cell reproduction. So it's that, and also it's antioxidant, so it helps to buffer free radicals produced by red light.
So on that note, question 18 is how much green Rooibos serum do you actually need to use? I get this quite a lot because I think a lot of people are applying too much to their skin prior to an LED mask, and they're finding it's drying on the surface so that when they're applying their makeup afterwards, it's starting to pill. Whereas if they applied a little bit less, it would all sink in, you wouldn't get any drying on the surface, and then you get no pilling. So how much are you actually supposed to apply?
Very little. I mean, these active ingredients, you need them in such small quantities. So 1 pump of the serum for face, 1 pump for neck is all that you need effectively.
And I find I actually need less than that. So my bottle of serum lasts me a really long time because I've got quite a small face and I've got a long neck, but it's quite a small neck. So I find that maybe 1.5 pumps does the entire thing for me. I think it's individual. Question 19, and this is a really great question because I wanted to mention a product of Bev's, and this leads so beautifully into this new product. So I have an Omnilux mask and use the Maysama serum. Rather than making my skin feel better, the combination seems to cause me irritation. Am I doing something wrong?
You are absolutely not doing something wrong. Just because something works for the majority, but it doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. But it may be that you have sensitivity to light, to photosensitivity, or it may be that you have sensitivity to a particular ingredient in our serum. In fact, as you said, we have a new product which for that very reason we have launched, because we have 1% of the community are sensitive to aloe vera, and our original serum is formulated in a base of pure aloe vera gel. So the new serum, which is the Serum Light, is formulated in water. So it's aloe free. So for those people that are sensitive to aloe vera, it's an absolute perfect alternative. It's still formulated with our potent hero, aspalathin enriched green Rooibos extract, which is proven to work with LED therapy and accelerate the results. But just a different lightweight formula, so it absorbs more easily. You don't get that pilling that you mentioned earlier if you're a skincare fanatic who loves to layer lots of serums. And it's slightly lighter in colour as well. We have had a few people contact us with really fair skin, and they say, yeah, I would prefer less colour in the serum. For me personally, I love the warmth that the original serum gives you because, with slight redness in my face, I prefer that warmth that it gives me. For other people with really fair skin, just to have something more translucent may be advantageous.
And I can say from my own experience that the original formula, I do my LED treatments usually in the morning, and I was applying this. It's a beautiful serum, but because of the colour of this, I had to wash it off, or at least rinse it off, splash it off after I'd used it, which is such a waste because it's such a great antioxidant. Whereas the new, more lightweight serum, I'm still getting all those benefits of the green rooibos, but it doesn't have the intensity of colour, so I'm not having to wash it off. So this is definitely my preference over the original, but both of them are absolutely fantastic at getting you results. We're getting to the end now, but question 20 is, I have a lot of unsightly seborrheic keratosis on my body and have had various laser and cryotherapy treatments over the years. Could red light improve the look of these at all?
It's a good question. Okay, so seborrheic keratosis, you're absolutely doing the right therapies for it already, cryotherapy and laser therapy. Unfortunately, red light therapy is not going to help you. You know, the reason being that the nature of seborrheic keratosis is not inflammatory. They are benign growths on the surface of the skin, you know, with a kind of waxy structure because it's an increase in keratin. So red light therapy just does not impact on that whatsoever. Potentially when the growths are removed, could it improve the quality of the skin around it? Potentially, but it's not going to directly treat the seborrheic keratosis.
So question 21, final question, and my heart goes out to this lady. It truly, truly does. So she says, I suffered an attack nearly 3 years ago that left me with multiple skull fractures. I suffer a lot with inflammation. Could red light therapy be a long-term help?
Wow. Well, firstly, I'm so sorry to hear that, and I do hope that you're recovering well. Yes, absolutely. I would definitely consider introducing LED therapy. There is definitely emerging evidence around near-infrared light in particular helping with neurodegenerative restoration. So it could certainly help. If, again, you know, it comes back to this anti-inflammatory action of red light. So if you've had an injury, you know, a skull fracture, then you're going to have chronic inflammation, and that's going to lead to pain. And red light therapy just addresses the main issues, which is the tissue repair and the inflammation. So when I say red light therapy includes red and near infrared, but for you in particular, you do want to look at near infrared light and you do want pulse light because it's about getting into the deeper tissue. Near infrared light is a longer wavelength, it penetrates more deeply, and pulse light will help get that deeper as well. And it will certainly help reduce pain, reduce inflammation. It's a long-term thing. I would say, you know, once you introduce it, you've just got to be consistent. Just keep going with it. And I hope it brings you some relief.
Before we leave, it'd be a real shame if we didn't mention some of the Maysama products because they are phenomenal. I know we've mentioned a couple of the skincare products in this video today, but Bev has given me a discount code. You do not want to miss this because it is huge. So you do have the panel, which we've mentioned already, great for anybody with a dark skin because it has that just infrared capability on there as well as just red light or joint, and it does have the pulse light capabilities as well. You've also got the Prana face mask, which is one of my personal favorites, which also has that pulse light capability. And you've got a brand new device, the chin to chest.
Yes.
This is absolutely fantastic. It not only treats the neck and the chest, but it also has a submental flap which treats the underside of the chin as well. So Bev has given me a discount code of almost 30% off absolutely everything site-wide. That includes all the serums, all the skincare, and all of the LED devices that she has on offer. So get them while they are still in stock. They won't be in stock for very long. So once again, thank you from all of you and me for coming on today and answering all those questions. I am not an expert when it comes to LED, and I always love to get Bev's thoughts on all of your questions. So it was just such a nice thing that you came on to answer them in person. So thank you so much. I am always at the end of an email with Bev.
Yes.
Every question that I have for red light therapy, I am there on the keyboard typing that question to Bev, and you always reach out and make sure that I have all the information that I need. So thank you so much for coming on, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime.
I'd love to come back. Thank you so much for having me, Gemma. I just love working with you.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave, and hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.